Hey everybody, I hope I'm doing this right. I'm not used to all this technology and so forth, and in case you're wondering, I'm sitting in front of my celebrational tree. I prefer to call it that because I do celebrate, winter solstice, Christmas, Yule, and so on. And I can honestly say that I've heard from a great many of you, and last week was a bit of a wild ride, as it can be for this time of year for most of us. So I wanted to touch base on one of the things that can be the most confounding, and that's internal resistance. So the sacred flow of the river this week revealed and opened a lot of our vulnerabilities last week. So in order to make that that worthwhile, this is really learning how and why we get in our own way. And it's again very red road to say to learn how to get out of your own way. Easier said than done. But sometimes internal resistance, obviously it's born, from fear. And fear can have many faces. But typically, understanding where that fear comes from helps to, I would say, at the very least, understand the resistance and hopefully begins to highlight how to move beyond it. So internal resistance comes from a place of not only fear, but sometimes a sense of security, that if I change everything, whether you're happy or not, at least as the expression goes, it's the devil you know versus the one that you don't. So in order to be able to overcome internal resistance, the first step is to understand what is it trying to do for you. So if it's coming from a fear space, is it coming from a place of not wanting to let go of the security that you know? Take a look at the essence of it. And from there, begin to move, beyond it. And again, you never have to do this journey by yourself. So say, for example, that internal resistance, and it can manifest in a bunch of different ways. So procrastination, suddenly everything else is interesting, distraction versus the thing that you're supposed to be doing, and so forth. So internal resistance, I guess, should also come, or could also come, ultimately from feeling that something's very distasteful in addition to it. So if it's something that you're afraid of, then take a good look at defining it. Maybe that fear comes from that sense of, oh my gosh, an imposter syndrome. Well, if I do this, maybe I'm not being authentic. Maybe for the first time in your life you really are. And you're finally getting rid of the masks of the old, which is what last week was revealing. Maybe it's a sense of that security. Well, if I let go of the security, no matter how much it's dragging me down or it takes so much to maintain it, I may not have it again. And that's a lie too. So take a look at what makes you feel secure and safe. And then begin to reinvent new elements by which to do it. And again, anything that is truly important will be allowed to follow you. It's not going to just disappear. With your co-creating with the universe, it takes on a new form. Say if it's distasteful, and this is going to be a very common one after the holidays, which is, I'll pick a common one where people want to be physically fit. Okay, we've had a lot of fun with the 0 calories, of course, of all those holiday goodies. And that resistance of, oh yes, I'll do it, and then you stop. Because people find it distasteful. And with that, there's nothing wrong with acknowledging that too. You're not being a baby, you're not being difficult, you're just being honest. If you're going to stick to anything, then it goes a lot better and it becomes part of your lifestyle if something is healthy and fun. So if internal resistance has become one of your primary elephants in the room that's not letting you move forward, then, be a little bit like Dr. Dolittle. Talk to that elephant. Find out why it's there. Because if you try to ignore that something's distasteful, no matter what it is, and you keep on pushing, then you're begun to become bitter and resentful. That doesn't help anything. If it's a case of where it comes from a sense of security, but you boulder through without really thinking about how you're going to translate that then there's going to be part of you that will never be present. You'll always be wondering, were you crazy for letting go of the past and what's going to happen to you in the future? So that's not going to work. If you're coming from a place of fear with that internal resistance and you don't respond to that, or maybe it's a sense of protection and you do not invent a new updated form of protection, then ultimately you will never feel comfortable and you're going to go back to old ways. So in this week, the sacred flow of the river, the lessons, the karmic lessons that we're being given, is showing us the essence of where this resistance comes. From that understanding, having compassion, and this even goes with community groups as well, if there's resistance within a group. And then from that understanding of what the essence is, beginning to be open and to brainstorm new forms of being able to move beyond those lessons of the old. And one of the methods that your guardian spirit will be allowed to use, and it's effective, it might drive you a little nuts, is to your personality. So if you are, I call it again missing pieces. So what happens is you feel as if the universe is setting forth a bunch of synchronistic events, putting forth what I call breadcrumbs of information or people, and then suddenly that one critical juncture, suddenly sounds like empty air, and you're like, what the heck? Where do I go from here? Am I getting a mixed message from the universe? Am I not supposed to do this? That's not the case. Remember that part of what this whole turn of seasons, this year that we call 2020, was about, and still is learning how to relate to each other, our sacred selves, each other, and the global family, and nature, Earth Mother, and all our relations in a different way. So what happens is, because we have become very, in a way, isolated, not just because of COVID-19, the missing pieces, what happens is, when you need one piece, like that last piece of the puzzle that's going to bug you before you can just say, hey, I'm done with this and I can move forward, is a way that your guardian spirit will be allowed to use to, I'm going to politely use the word entice you, to go beyond yourself, to go beyond where you've been, to make connections. And I think we're all striving for connections at this point, and being with each other. So even though we may not be able to be physically with each other like we would like to be, the tactic of missing pieces is that, not to say that it's a mixed message, if everything is falling into place or really leading you, and suddenly that one critical step is just, you're hearing crickets, say, okay. Already you will see, it'll come to mind, and if not to heart, the person or people that are meant to help you with finding this missing piece, that have that missing piece of information, that know where to go, that knows who to connect you with. So the idea is that as you grow forward, move beyond internal resistance, if you're looking at that in an area of your life, then that missing piece helps to connect you and gets you curious to connect with people and network in a different way. And the final thing that I would like to mention is this time of year is always very hard. As a spiritual counselor, I work hand in hand with different therapists. It's unfortunate that the phone rings a lot or I get messages a lot, because this is a very deeply sentimental time of year and many things come up. And this year, it doesn't mean necessarily with the death of a loved one, which can include this, but because of the global situation. Here they're talking here in Pennsylvania, the governor, about locking us down again. And it makes it very hard. But let's put things into context. Let's pretend that even the COVID-19 thing is not a thing. There are times when traditions stay on for way too long. And you say, well, how could that be? Let me give you an example. And we've all experienced it. Where there is a tradition of perhaps of going to someone's home or what have you, and everyone's supposed to go and or get dressed up, yada, yada. And in the beginning, it can be nice because it can be as a family reunion. It can be as a gathering. But as time goes on, if a tradition is not kept alive, and we've been in a situation where we go because we have to go, and who's going to be there, and then looking at the watch or looking at the clock, wondering, when is the appropriate amount of time that we've been here that now we can now leave. And if that's the case, then at that point, really, that's a tradition that needs to change. So say, for example, and I'll put myself for here, where I used to do, and I love entertaining, and I'm a foodie, I love cooking. And from time to time, I will still do this, but I used to be the one who would do the Norman Rockwell dinners. Did them very well, made sure, try to gather everybody, yada, yada. Until, time went by, and I noticed that started to happen where you could just tell that people were coming because they were being polite, or someone expected them to be there, but you could tell the energetic was just not, what I wanted and hoped for it to be, what it used to be. So I did the unthinkable. I said, screw it. Yep. And of course, initially, there was the outcry that I basically did blasphemy. I held fast. And what I did instead is I said, on this date, this time, this place, and of course this is pre-COVID, I'm reinventing it again, let's meet, let's have fun. So it could be like in Bethlehem wanting to go to Christkindl Market, or it could be just having fun at the Franklin Institute or whatever. But what would happen is, or at a park, I love geocaching too. So what would happen is, it didn't require spending money. Who wanted to be there would be there, and be there, and we could be relaxed and be ourselves, which was the point of it to begin with. So now it's kind of fun where we say, okay, well, I'm going to be reinventing again with COVID. We can't, but typically it'd be like, okay, Skyfire, where are we going next? So with that, what I would say to you is, especially now, maybe some of those things of making a bit of happiness in this time of year is inventing a new tradition. Sit down, brainstorm together with the ones who want to come together, and share what you want to do. It can be, again, being safety first, but it could be everybody bundles up and maybe you go for a hike together. It could be an outdoor event. It could be a virtual event. There are many virtual museums, literally virtual expos and things going on that everybody chooses to meet and to go together. Watch parties, watching videos and movies together. So the reason why I share this with you is because although there could be, again, mixed feelings and emotions of not being able to do things the way that we've done them, 2020 was said to be the year of revolution, and so it has been. And before I close, I just want to mention that I will be, through Moonstone and Sage, hosting the winter solstice celebration, again, Native American New Year, and doing the Blessing of Light. We will still have a modified form of the giveaway that'll happen where there's a gifting and the lessons of the year to come and the messages. I always get the message of what the coming year is going to be. And if you would like to have to know that personally, then please contact me for whether it be personal reading or what have you. So if you want to see what's going to be coming for you in your personal flow of the river. So with this, my friends, I'm always grateful to spend this time with you. I beg of you, let's keep the positivity going. So whatever comments you'd like to make, please like this video, share it. It always means a lot to me. And until we get to see each other next week, many blessings, many bright blessings to you and yours. Thank you so much for spending time with me. I'll see you soon.